back to our Ask a Publishing Professional feature. Today we have one of Greenleaf's expert designers, Chase Quarterman, here with us. He's here to answer all the questions that you asked over the past week. So let's get started. And today's topic is design, by the way. All right, what are the different design services offered at Greenleaf?
Obviously, book covers. That's the go-to. Interiors, the jackets. Sometimes interior graphics, so digital assets that we may get from an author need touching up. I've done a map before. I've done icons before, so I'm kind of a creative odd job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just depends on the needs.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So as a first-time author, what can I expect the design process to look like?
So I email the authors, or the designers email the authors, and we introduce ourselves, and we set up a phone meeting. We meet with the author over the phone, sometimes occasionally in person, which is preferable, but we deal with people all over the world. So in the phone meeting, we discuss author expectations for designs. This could be symbolism, this could be typography that they like, things that they don't like, and from there the designers create a cover mock-up, multiple cover mock-ups for the authors. So sometimes this could be 20 different covers, and then we present 4 to the authors.
Okay.
And from there, we do an interior comp, like a sample interior layout for the authors, choosing typography and using imagery in a certain way and stylizing things so then they can improve that. And finally, we design the entirety of the book and then design the dust jacket. Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's a process.
A lot goes into that. All right, so what areas in the book design process do you specialize in or find the most enjoyable?
I have a background in advertising, so I really like the concepting part of it. So the author comes with a certain kind of content and a certain creative problem, and the creative problem solving is probably my favorite part of it. Occasionally I get to do illustrations or get to do, like I said before, iconography, and I really enjoy that as well. Custom typography, those are all a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so typically, I think you answered this previously, but we'll just go over it again.
Sure.
Typically, how many cover designs are presented to an author to choose from?
Okay. Yeah, so I mentioned 4.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is it doesn't overwhelm the author. If I did do 20
Mm-hmm.
and showed them the entirety of my exploration, I think it would be overload.
Yeah.
So we limit it to 4, which I think helps the creative team. We know we're forced to choose 4, and so we kind of go through this process and figure out which ones are genre appropriate, which ones are the most relevant to whatever the content is, and then from the 4, I like to present a safe option,
Mm-hmm.
and then an occasional random left field option that's a little more experimental,
Mm-hmm.
but still genre appropriate. And we from there, sometimes the authors like to choose, like they fixate on one and they really love it. Sometimes they want to do what I call Frankensteining, which is they like the type here on option 3, but they like the rest of the cover on option 1, and we Frankenstein them together and create something that they like.
Okay, so you're taking everything from what they like
Sure.
on both and
Mhm.
kind of mix it together. Love
Definitely.
that.
Mhm.
All right, what is your favorite part of being a designer in the publishing industry?
I think I touched on this before as well, but I like the creative challenge.
Mhm.
So every author has a different creative problem to solve, and this could be fiction, nonfiction, variety of genres. Even if the books are all in the same genre, there's different problems to solve. So different authors have different backgrounds and aesthetic sensibilities, where an author from Europe has a certain background versus an author from the American South, and they they have a certain preference, and you have to kind of be all things to all people and consider their aesthetic preferences, but also kind of channel it through your design experience or my design experience. So yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, what tips do you have for an aspiring designer?
So I get this question a lot. I've taught university level design for about a decade. So this is a common question.
So he's the expert.
right. I could try to be. Students who are about to graduate or people just getting into graphic design are often like that. Where do I even begin? I would suggest that you think about what you want to do. There's a million different niche genres of graphic design, both print and screen, and cater a portfolio to whatever the goal is. Sometimes people just want to do book design, app design, like newspaper layout,
logo design,
like branding, identity systems. So I would say focus. But if there's specialties outside that you have outside of that goal, add some of those too, because there's probably you're gonna have the option to show some talent outside of that. You're not gonna just pigeonhole yourself into one thing. Be specifically or specialize, but also be versatile. That's kind of, I don't know, oxymoronic, but.
Yeah, but it makes sense in the design world. I mean, you don't want to be pigeonholed into a certain area if that's what you specialize in, but also you can have other attributes that you're really good at as well.
Totally.
So having an online portfolio is also
online portfolio, online presence is key.
Yeah. We say that a lot here at Greenleaf.
Yes.
In all aspects of things.
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite and least favorite font type?
This is a great question. And it's super controversial and subjective. Everybody has a different answer. I'm pretty passionate about typography and get pretty angry about awful typography. So I'm going to lump them into big groups. So the ones that I don't like, let's start with the negative. I don't like novelty typefaces. So just to define what a novelty typeface is, it's a typeface that's been customized by a different designer. Let's say you wanted a Christmas typeface, a wintertime typeface, or something like that. You wanted candy canes. Instead of designing it yourself, you could go to a free font site, which I don't recommend, and get a candy cane typeface. And the metrics are off, the spacing is bad, you get what you pay for.
Right.
Which is you don't pay anything. And so I would say I'm a big fan of taking typefaces that are, I call them blank canvas, so or invisible. So they're serif or sans serif. You read them, but you're not aware that they're there. You're not aware of their design. They're just communicating to you. I like taking those and then breaking them or messing with them or modifying them or customizing them somehow. So bad typefaces, the punching bags of graphic design are Papyrus, Comic Sans, Marker Fell, Chalk Duster. It's a big rogues gallery of awful typefaces.
If I use any of these typefaces, I really know Chase.
My flavor of the month favorite typeface is Avenir, which is a beautiful, beautiful typeface. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know it's always so interesting to hear this answer because, like you, I have a background in advertising in college, and we had a bunch of graphic designers on our team, and the differences between all of them of the typefaces they hated was so interesting.
It's very subjective.
Yeah.
And it could get heated within
there
the
were a
graphic
couple
design community.
Heated discussions. I actually got told to stop using, I think it was Century Gothic, because I enjoy using
That's a classic typeface, but you also don't want to overuse typefaces.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just using it in emails. They didn't like it that much. All right. What design studio do you prefer working with? For example, Adobe Illustrator, InDesign.
Okay, good question. So the big three, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, they're all different. They all have different reasons for existing. So I don't really have a favorite. For book design, we primarily use InDesign for layout. But if you're if you're going to create vector graphics or scalable graphics for logos or iconography, Illustrator is ideal. So then you work in paths and anchor points and scalable. You don't have to deal with pixelation. If you're dealing with photos or scans of illustrated work, like handmade illustrated work, this can be Photoshop because there's pixels. It's raster based. And so that's that function of Photoshop. Like, you should not make logos in Photoshop. Okay. That's, yes. People do that all the time. It's not scalable.
Rule number one.
Rule number one, don't make logos in Photoshop. And then InDesign is like, it's like a funnel where you take all the elements that you created in Photoshop and Illustrator and you lay them all out. InDesign is great for long form design. So if you have a 350-page book, you are handling all those pages, you're creating styles for all those pages, and you have a master page where you can put page numbers and style that. And so it's much better suited for layout, long form layout.
I'm going to create a mini question off of this
Do
question.
it, yeah.
So if any prospecting designers or people who were in the beginning stages who decide they want to go into design, which is the easiest program to get started on, do you think, to learn?
I think that depends on personality. I like to start people on my experience. I like to start people on Illustrator. But I found that sometimes people end up hating Illustrator, so they like something later on. Usually, people are given nowadays in high school. People are given experience in Photoshop, and they use it wrong. They use it for logos and stuff. So Illustrator can be a breath of fresh air, but Illustrator is a good start, and then Photoshop, and then InDesign.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 9, what has been your favorite genre to work with as a designer?
The cheap answer is there's good things about all of them. So fiction tends to be more creatively interesting because you can do more experimentations with fiction. It's fiction. It's not, you're not based in reality. You can experiment with the style. You can experiment with typography and illustration, and it's appropriate for the genre of fiction. People want to be entertained, and so you can create a design that's more entertaining. In a nonfiction genre, in all the sub-genres of nonfiction, you tend to be a little more restrained in that. You don't want to go wild, but you also don't want to be vanilla. You don't want to blend into the background or into the rest of the competition, for lack of a better word. So that's why I give the range. Going back to the range, like the safe option, all the way to something that's a little more experimental for the genre.
Because despite what our mothers told us, books are judged by their covers.
Absolutely, definitely.
All right, number 10. How do you decide when to add texture to a book cover?
So texture meaning like coding.
Yes.
It's called like tech.
Yeah.
So there is, at some point in the process, after the cover's been done and after the interior's been laid out, we have, the team has a specs meeting, and we decide on that stuff. We decide, okay, what would look good with this design? Does it need a spot gloss to emphasize certain things? Does it need foil stamping? Does it need to be matte? Does it need to be glossy all throughout it? Does it need to have like a kind of an iridescent vibe? There's a million different options. It can be overwhelming. We even choose the headbands of the case binding, and it's all little specific things. So it's kind of part of it. It actually adds a lot to the initial design.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well that wraps up our Ask a Publishing Professional for Design. This live video will be also posted to Facebook for anyone who couldn't check in. Be sure to check our social media for the announcement of next month's topic. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.